Hi, I'm Shia Schaefer, and this video package is for men in relationship, tips about being in successful relationship. And I thought a fun way to do that would be to talk about the 10 best loves of my life and what worked in those relationships and what was the best part of them. Instead of just listing off things, I thought to have it in story form and examples in real life would be more interesting. So this is part one, and these are relationships I've had throughout my life, and I picked the 10 top ones. And they last anywhere from a few months to the longest one was 6.5 years. So I'm going to start with my first example is Paul, and that was my longest relationship from age 18 to 24. So I met him right before I graduated high school, and it was through my college years, 6.5 years total. Now, this was a really unique relationship because this was in my Christian phase still. And it was unique in several ways. One, 3.5 of those years were long distance because we were both in college in different states. It was non-intercourse relationship because we were Christian. And the other thing that was unusual is he loved to pleasure me, even though it was non-intercourse. We did engage in other things. And so he really enjoyed giving to me unconditionally, but he didn't really care for hands-on kind of manipulation. He preferred to wait until we could engage in intercourse. So that was, I think, very unusual too. So what worked best about my relationships in general is I think because my dad was, I felt somewhat indifferent to me. He didn't give me a lot of attention and no affection. And he really wasn't a part of my life much after the age of 10. And because of that wound, so to speak, I noticed that my boyfriends tend to be really into me because that's what I enjoy. If I'm just going to have a repeat of my dad who's indifferent, then who wants that? So that's a theme in my relationships that makes them work really well, and you can take these tips and take note of that. And I, of course, am not every woman. It's not one size fits all as far as what works with women, but a lot of the things I'm going to share do work with women quite well. So some of the beautiful things about my relationship with Paul is, of course, I also have to have a highly affectionate man in my life, public affection included. I remember one time of a boyfriend I had actually later on where he said, I'm not big on public affection. I said, oh, that'll never work. I'll never survive. That's like torture to me. So he changed that really quick. But being highly affectionate, and I would say probably also giving a good amount of attention is part of what works for me. And so Paul and I actually met at church, Christian non-denominational church in Monterey, California. He was from Texas, and he was actually getting out of the service in Monterey at the time. And so, we were together, I guess it was the first 6 months until he got out of the service and went to chiropractic college back in Texas. And so we were long distance for 3.5, and then I went to go live in Texas to be near him for a couple of years. So during that 3.5 years of long distance, what was awesome is we were on the phone regularly, and we actually wrote each other faithfully every day, which is kind of unusual, I think. Literally every day. So we both got something in the mail every day from each other. And of course, part of the game was to address the envelope with some kind of fun romantic name or nickname or something, anything but our real names. and and then of course it was doused with stickers too. So, I often would get rolled eyes from the mailman who was aware of this. And so that was really fun. We had quite a collection of letters from each other over the years. This was one of my best relationships. Paul was a good man. He was a Sagittarius, which was a good match for me. And, we were engaged at one point and thought we would get married and have a life and family and all that. And it, didn't happen that way. But it was definitely one of the best relationships that I've had. I would say if there's, he definitely, I could tell, was in love with me. So I had a real security in knowing that. And because he just loved giving to me unconditionally, and, sexually in other ways besides intercourse, it was, my first experience with sexuality, which was a positive experience. And, a time of exploring. And is there anything else I want to say? Oh, yes. So one of the gifts, one thing that was kind of nice is that his grandfather worked for American Airlines. So he was able to get free passes to visit often, during that long distance period. So that didn't end up being a problem because he had, several flights available to him per year for free. And I would say one of the best things about Paul that's highly unusual, I have really not been able to find a man since who was able to do this, which is being able to be effective with a woman emotionally. When a woman is angry or sad or depressed or crying or whatever, he always knew how to shift me. So he had a knack for comforting me. He was quite humorous, actually, too. He had a great sense of humor. He would use different voices. He would go into these acts as characters and make me laugh. He knew how to sing really well, too. But he's the only man that, emotionally really was able to hold space and help me shift. So that's definitely an emotional intelligence skill that I don't find very often and haven't found since to that degree of success. So that was really awesome. And he also enjoyed cooking for me. Like, one of the things I remember he used to make for me was homemade tapioca because I just loved it. And I noticed that is something about me in general that I love and somehow got programmed in me where, if a man like treats me to a meal, whether we go out or he makes one, that just really speaks to me for some reason. I guess, that it feels more like a date when that happens, but something about nourishing me that way, I don't know. They say men, what is that saying about men, how you can, something about their stomachs or loving them through food or something like that, but I'm definitely rigged that way. I think it's just a nurturing kind of nourishment type thing is my guess. So anyway, he would do that, and he was also highly intelligent, which is important, for conversation, because there's nothing worse than being involved with someone who really can't carry a conversation or doesn't have the intelligence or the breadth of education maybe to talk about this, that, and everything. So we had a really endearing, relationship, that I cherish to this day. And it, like I said, it was my longest one. So thank you, Paul, for being such an awesome man.